very happy today to have Terry Phipps with us, an expatriate who lives not far from Panama City, but outside the city. I'll let Terry tell you more about herself. Terry, tell us, where do you come from? How did you find your way to Panama?
Well, I grew up all over the United States, so I'll say I moved to Panama from Seattle, Washington in 2007. After buying my house in 2005, we moved to Altos del Maria. Beautiful mountain community, about an hour and a half west of the city. I loved Altos del Maria. I love the mountains and the beautiful views. But I left Altos del Maria about 5 years after I moved in 2012. My partner and I bought a condominium in the new community of Panama Pacifico, which is just across the Bridge of the Americas, in the old Howard Air Force Base area. And we've been there for a little over 2 years now.
How far is that from Panama City? How long does it take you to get in?
Well, if I avoid the traffic, which is easy when you're retired, actually I can be almost anywhere in 15 minutes.
That's excellent.
Yeah, yeah. I make sure that I'm out of the city before the rush hour, but really it's very easy to get into the city, and especially on Sundays, I can be anywhere in 20 minutes at the most, even all the way across town. So it's lovely.
Well, when you first came, how did you approach Panama? How did you come? Was it internet sites that you'd watched, or did you just come and start traveling?
No, that's a good question. Actually, my husband and I subscribed to International Living and was reading International Living, but never did any of the conferences they offer. And then we found your site, Retirement Wave. My husband, I will say, he did all the research. And I know that he started communicating with you via email, and we finally decided that we would come down and take a look. And didn't intend to, but bought a house on our first visit. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but it worked well for us. We were really happy. And
what kind of house was it?
It was a single-family home in the mountains in Altos, 1 level, 3 bedrooms, beautiful view off the back of the Maria Valley and out to the Pacific Ocean. It was the view. It wasn't the house. It was the view that really caught us. And we actually purchased it from a gentleman who was building it, so it was under construction at the time, and moved in 2007.
What were utilities like out in the countryside in the mountains? Do you have any problems with it? More expensive than you found when you were here in town?
No. Less expensive because we didn't need to use air conditioning. That was the beauty of Altos del Maria. We never had problems with outages or water. We had no problems with getting ample water supply. So it was fine for us. Utilities, back then it cost us about $65 to $80 a month for electricity, and the gentleman that we bought the house from put everything in electric, so we had electric oven as well. Here in the city now, well, we're not in the city, but I call it the city. We live in mostly air conditioning, as you well know, being a city dweller. But our utilities are reasonable, about $111 a month for electricity. It's not bad.
Does that include the discount for Jubilado, or is that
yes.
a straight amount?
No, that includes the discount for the Jubilado, which we also got when we lived in Altos del Maria. Yeah.
Well, if you have the Jubilado discount per se, does it really affect your life in any other significant ways other than electricity bills?
Oh, does it ever? I love that Jubilado discount. Yes,
oh,
I
folks,
use it.
Jubilado means retiree, for those who don't know, in Spanish.
We use it for medical care and prescription drugs, and I have asthma, so I am on medication, which helps the cost of the medications. We've used it for the airline flights. All flights originating from Panama, you get a discount, and that's huge. Of course, going out to eat, entertainment, movies. I love it. It's one of the reasons it keeps me here.
You say you have asthma. What's the situation in terms of medical care or health or any concerns that you have?
I've been very lucky. I have found a lot of really good doctors here. All speak fluent English. I see my asthma doctor on a semi-annual basis. The costs vary. I was recently, unfortunately, I got shingles. And I went to my family practice doctor for $17, my visit with him, and then a prescription. And I had 2 follow-up visits that didn't cost me anything.
Oh.
You can't beat that.
No, you can't.
No, I have found some really good doctors in Panama City.
Have you ever had any experience with a hospital?
Only visiting people that were there. A friend of mine was in intensive care. Actually, 2 friends of mine were in intensive care, both of them in the Punta Patilla Hospital.
Ah, Paitilla Medical Center?
Paitilla Medical Center, and I was really impressed with the care there. Very impressed.
Well, I was there once for a while, and I was very impressed with how clean the place was.
Yes.
Everything was extremely well organized, and I appreciated that. But fortunately, if not been a patient or had someone who was, so if intensive care works out pretty well, then you know things work out pretty well generally.
Well, you know, it was one of the reasons that we left Altos is I wanted to be closer as we get older. My partner is 70 years old. I'll be 60. We wanted to be closer to emergency medical care, good emergency medical care, and frankly, our doctors are all in the city. So it made sense as we got older to move there, and we were happy. We did.
How about banking?
Banking? No problems banking in Panama. When I first moved here, my attorney helped me open up my first bank account. And after I had one, I could walk in and open a bank and an account in nearly any other bank. In fact, I know that it usually takes around 10 days to 2 weeks. But when I opened an account with Banismo, within 24 hours, I was able to deposit money. So it was very easy.
Was that your first account?
No, that was my third.
The first one took longer, yeah.
The first one took longer. After that, it was easy because I had already had one account already opened.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Well, as folks may not know, the government has some strict regulations in banks regarding new customers to be absolutely sure that there's no criminal activity. We're very close to Colombia, and they're very, very sensitive on the issue of funds and where they come from and so forth. So they're very careful in opening the initial account as a rule. But once you establish your relationship, you're obviously a legitimate person, then things change, as Terry's just saying, rather rapidly. Terry, how about your relationships with Panamanians and going around trying to get things done and language and all the things that are associated with that?
Well, language is an issue. I have been studying Spanish. I have a private tutor that comes to my home once a week. I'm not one of these people where language comes easily.
I understand.
But I would say I have survival Spanish. And it hasn't stopped me. I get out and I can conduct nearly all kinds of business. But I do need to have my doctors and my lawyer speak fluent English. Other than that, it's not an issue. I'm okay with it. I'm comfortable. Even if I'm wrong, I'm comfortable with it.
And the response and reactions of Panamanians?
It's funny. When I try to speak Spanish, I think they appreciate it. Yeah, maybe I speak everything in the present tense. But the fact that I try, it's been acknowledged that they appreciate that I am trying.
Have you felt any antagonism toward you because you're a foreigner or anything of this sort? No.
And I've been here almost 8 years, and I have never experienced that.
That's very good.
Yeah.
That's good. So tell us a little bit more about what you do when in your free time, because I know you're a very busy person, and are there things to do if you want to stay busy? I guess that's
are there ever? In fact, one of the reasons that we ended up leaving Altos de Maria was only because we wanted to have more opportunities for cultural experiences. Not that you don't have them in Altos, but to come to the city, it was a drive. Now, since we've moved to Panama Pacifico, I have become involved in the local community theater, the Theater Guild of Ancon. Actually, I'm on the board and building sets for our next production. Along with several other people, I am teaching English, the alphabet in English, to the kindergarten class in the village school of Chumical, which is just outside of Veracruz. I'm also working with a young man to help him improve his English. He's in the business world. And I'm forgetting something. Oh, I'm also the volunteer librarian at the Knightsbridge Schools International, which is in Panama Pacifico. So I can be as busy or as relaxed as I want to be. I like it.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you do. Have you traveled much around Panama, or have you stayed pretty much at home?
I have done a fair amount. I'd like to do some more. I've been to Boquete. I've been down to the Azuero Peninsula several times. Beautiful. Just beautiful. Beautiful beaches, and it's a great place for me to vacation. Not a place that I would particularly want to live because I like being closer to the city, but it's beautiful there.
And Boquete?
Boquete is another nice area. A lot of expats living there. I attended a language school there. Oh. And I did a home immersion, homestay with a Panamanian family. That was fun, interesting, challenging, but I enjoyed very much Boquete. In fact, I plan to go back in the very near future to spend a little more time and explore the coffee plantations that are up there.
Okay, that's. I mean, like you, I love coffee, and
yeah,
this is the place to be.
Yes, I've been to Bocas del Toro. Beautiful, wonderful snorkeling out there. They have a marine park, I guess you would call it. It's wonderful snorkeling, some of the best I've ever seen. I've been to the San Blas, and that was another great experience. So there's still a lot to visit, and my getaway place is the Pearl Islands.
The Pearls?
Yes.
Which are off the coast of Panama City.
Off the coast. Easy to pick up the ferry right there in the Amador Causeway, and hour and 45 minutes we're there, and that's where you go to kick back for a couple of days.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's excellent. What, if anything, would you suggest to people who are sitting out there now listening to you and they have not come down and they're coming down? How would you suggest they approach it? Do you think it's important for them to decide in advance where they're going to be living or expect to be living, or should they come down and more open?
Definitely come down and be open. Definitely don't do what I did. Don't buy a house on your first trip. Rent. Find a place that interests you. Explore first. You may be a beach person. I'm not a beach person. You may be a city person. I'm not a city person, but I'm close to the city. You may be a mountain person. You don't know really what's out there until you explore. And so I think it's important you come down and travel around. And spend some time in different areas. Rent first and decide if this is really for you. Yeah.
Now, would you recommend, people have, of course, limited resources sometimes in coming down, but they'll often ask me how much time should I set aside, and I usually say 2 weeks is the best if you're limited, but at least a week to 10 days, because you can, if you only have a couple places you're looking.
Exactly.
If you're looking at a lot of the country, it's going to take you longer. Although the distances are relatively small, they still take time.
Right. Well, there's so much research you can do in advance, is what we did. So we knew coming down that we wanted to look at Altos del Maria. So that helped.
Yes.
If you're a beach person, then you can do the research. And the beaches, the Pacific beaches, are probably where you would want to be. I don't think they're as much on the Atlantic side, but there's also, of course, Bocas del Toro, which has a large expat community there. So if you know in advance that you want to be either in the city or if you want to be out in the country, then probably 10 days you could do it. But 2 weeks would be better.
Yes, I understand. Are there other things that you would say to somebody who was coming down? You're talking to somebody the very first time. You say, do this, do that, don't do this, don't be surprised by that. Are any of those things? Can you remember any of them after all these years?
The only thing I tell people when they're coming down their first time is maybe not drive in the city right off the bat. Arrange for a good taxi. Other than that, experience it. Try to talk to as many people as you can. There's usually expat communities in anywhere that most people will be interested in visiting and try to connect with some of those people and talk to them about what it's like to live there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I often say go to the restaurants.
The local restaurants, the fondas.
Yeah, or even the little nicer ones or whatever. Yeah. Often you have an expatriate owner.
Yeah, often.
Out in some of the communities.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of expats do hang out, including the inexpensive restaurants where they just sit around to have lunch or something once a week.
Yeah.
You can find people of different nationalities pretty much everywhere in the country where people are likely to take a look.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I think this is excellent. I'm trying to think if there's anything you've missed, but I mean, you haven't mentioned anything that's really negative. I mean, did you have any bad experiences with people like real estate agents or stuff of this sort?
No, I didn't have any bad experiences. I've learned from all of my experiences. And there are, to be frank, there are days that I have a love-hate relationship with Panama, but then I had a love-hate relationship with the United States too. So, I mean, what does that tell you? There are days where I get frustrated, and it's usually because of my language issues. But, you know, I do like it here. I like the slower pace of life. I find the Panamanian people are very friendly. What I like about where we're living now is it's an expat community, but it's not a retirement community. And we have people from all nationalities living there. In fact, I'm hosting a Thanksgiving buffet obviously for Thanksgiving. But I have neighbors who are Panamanian, Bolivian, Venezuelan, German, Italian, Canadian. So it's all from our community.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I think you've done a good job of describing your life down here. You sound like, in summation, that you're happy you've done what you've done.
I have had no regrets. Good. No regrets.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I don't see myself leaving anytime soon.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you once again. We're very pleased that Terry was able to join us today, and it's good to see you.
Thank you, Bob.